If you have ever struggled with knowing how to structure your quality runs in your half marathon or your marathon prep, today I'm going to take you through my entire quality run, and I'm going to explain to you how I plan on progressing this quality run over the next 15 to 16 weeks in my prep for the St. Louis Marathon, which is going to be in April 11th of 2026. This is going to be episode number 1 of a 15-week build to, we're going to run the St. Louis Marathon, so 26.2. We ran our last marathon in 3 hours and 1 minute at Columbus. And my goal with all of this is just to take you through and kind of feel like you're with me in all of the training. And hopefully you can learn something along the way. And I'm not just sitting in front of a whiteboard the entire time. And it actually gives you a chance to learn while watching me do it. So today's Tuesday. We had an easy run yesterday on Monday. Today's our quality run at the track. And today is actually a 3x2 mile at marathon pace minus about 20 seconds. So I'll pop the workout up on the screen. And the goal with this workout is to do the 3x2 mile segments a little bit faster than marathon pace to get used to what that power feels like on my legs and holding it, because the more that I can get used to that, it should make marathon pace feel easier on my long runs on the weekend. So we have a mile warm up. I'm gonna do some stretches, get ready, and then we're gonna go into the 3x2 miles and I'll take you guys through the workout. Sidebar, these are the first pair of Adidas shoes that I've had. I was always a New Balance guy for a while. I had the Super Comp trainers, and then my last marathon I actually ran in the Hoka, it was the Rockets, and really liked them. But I got these more as like a hybrid style shoe. Don't believe they have a carbon plate, and I've been wearing them in all my runs. My quality sessions, easy runs. Usually I have a rotation, but I've liked these so much that I'm gonna get another pair, and they've worked out really well. So the goal with every quality session for me, since I'm only doing one a week, is to be intentional as possible. So asking yourself kind of what do you expect to get out of the workout, and for this one I want to be just above my threshold pace, so it should feel very uncomfortable, but I shouldn't feel out of control.
All right, rep 2 is done. It was at 2 miles at a 6:20 pace. Now I'm at my 3-minute rest. Then we have one more 2-mile segment. And I think a lot of times this is the point in the workout whenever you start kind of bargaining with yourself and thinking about why you should stop. And I'm not trying to be super inspirational, but this is the point that I think makes the most difference in marathon prep. Because if you can finish this last rep with the same discipline that you started the first 2, usually that confidence builds into next week. So one more rep.
One more. Woo! You did it.
I started, the first rep was a little fast. I was supposed to be between 620, 625, 630, and the first rep, I think I did it 615, which comes down to discipline. And I thought I had my pacing locked in, but that made the rest of the workout a lot harder, but it's done. That is it on the workout, 3x2 mile. I made a few mistakes during the workout that I want to talk about. But the goal with this is I want you to be able to understand why I'm doing the quality sessions that I'm doing. And I'm not saying yours have to look like this, but I'm going to go back and we'll sit down with the whiteboard, go through the workout, and I'll explain to you how I'm going to progress it over the next few weeks and what I look to get out of this workout specifically as I build through it week to week. I want to show you that you don't need a bunch of fancy workouts week to week. You can do the same one over and over and progress it the same way that you would add 5 pounds to your strength over 3, 4, 5 weeks at a time. So that's a wrap.
All right, I am back home. I'm going to walk you through the workout and where I thought I did a good job, where I thought I did a bad job. And if I was you, or whenever you're looking back at your workouts and kind of assessing, did you get the most out of it, you can look at yours the same way. So the 3x2 mile segment, the goal is obviously to get right up to that red line, not cross it though, and then come back down. I'm looking at the paces here on my intervals. I did a 6:16 minute per mile pace for the first 2 miles, a 6:20 minute per mile pace for the next 2, and then a 6:21 minute per mile pace for the last 2 mile segment. Great pacing. I was disciplined with the pacing, which I'm fine with. It was a little bit faster than I probably would have liked, but it felt good and I was fine. Where I think that I made the biggest mistake, the heart rate graph that I'm looking at in terms of like the overall effort, how hard was the workout on my body. I stayed below that like 153 average for the first two mile segment, but then that last 2 mile segment, my heart rate drifted at the end. And when I'm looking at my pacing, the last recovery right before I did that last segment, I didn't recover at the pace I should have. I had my recoveries at like an 8:30, and I still held my pace around the 7:30 or below for that recovery. So I didn't give my body enough time to step back and then jump back into that cruise or threshold style pacing again. So next time I come back to this workout, my goal would be take my recovery seriously. I don't want to see that heart rate drift at the end of the work. This right here is going to be the 6 pillars of marathon training essentially. So with marathon training, we have our easy runs, our quality runs, which we're going to talk about today, long runs, strength training, nutrition, and recovery. So today the focus, like I said, is going to be on quality runs. So we're going to flip this thing around. First thing you might be wondering is what the hell is a quality run? If that's the case, think of a quality run. We're going to use like a house as an example, okay, as an analogy. So if you have the foundation being built and they're pouring concrete, think of that as all of your easy efforts, your easy runs, because those have to be the foundation before you move into any fast style work. So easy runs, conversational pace are going to be anywhere from 70 to 80% of your total volume. So like the total miles that you're running, 70 to 80% of them should be easy. And this is going to vary person to person, but that's just general guidance. Now, quality sessions. This I like to think of as framing the house, okay? So every house is gonna have a different frame. Rooms are gonna be set up differently. How many levels is the house gonna have? This is where quality sessions come in because they can be structured in so many different ways and it can be confusing, but how you frame the house will determine how beautiful the house is, how good your marathon prep is. So that is why we're focusing on the quality runs today. When are you going to do them? So the quality runs are gonna be like 1 to 2 times per week. This is going to be based on your experience level. Some people get a lot out of just doing 1 a week, and some people get a lot out of doing 1 to 2. And you can even mix some quality miles into your long run on the weekends and turn that into a quality session as well. And we'll talk more about that. But this right here was the best quote I've ever been told around marathon training. And I don't even know if it was said exactly like this, but it completely transformed how I looked at quality runs. And they said a marathon isn't about how fast you can run, but how long you can stay just below that red line. So you're training your body to not completely crash out, but how long can you just hold that pace to where if you went a little bit faster, it's too fast and you're gonna kind of burn out pretty quickly, or can you just hold right between that, right below that red line long enough to where you impress yourself at the end in the finish line. So in order to train this was the biggest thing that I had to learn in my first marathon prep. I did a lot of VO2 intervals. So this would be like your 400 meter and your 800 meter repeats. And these are absolutely great. Great for developing speed, especially early on whenever you start mixing in quality sessions, because the intervals aren't long enough to completely tax you, but they're just long enough to where you get a lot of adaptation out of them. But for me, after I did these long enough, I found that my biggest issue was I wasn't able to sustain that marathon pace for long periods of time. So I'm talking 10, 20, 30, 40 minutes at a time. And that's where I struggled. And that's where the threshold and the cruising intervals came in for me and taught me a lot about how to become better at the marathon. And I'm not saying that this is the golden way, the only way to train for a marathon, but I'm saying this is how I am focusing mine moving forward. So in the first 4-week block of my marathon prep, I'll go back and forth between, so I'll do each of these twice. I'm doing a 3 by 2 mile workout, and then I'm also doing a 6 to 7 mile progression run as my quality run. The 3 by 2 mile will be a little bit slower than my threshold pace. So think of your threshold pace as that is the pace that if you went a little bit faster than that, lactate's gonna accumulate so quickly that your body isn't gonna be able to clear it and your legs are gonna tire out. It's that feeling of this is way too fast to sustain for any long period of time. But we wanna stay just above that so we're not there, and we'll hold it for 2 miles at a time with about a 3-minute jogging recovery in between, let your heart rate recover, and then back up to faster at marathon pace. The goal with these, like we just did today, the goal with these is if I can sustain a pace faster than marathon pace just for a little bit longer than I'm comfortable doing, and then back off and then go again, I get better and better as I do those. And then the 6 to 7 mile progression run, that's just getting used to finishing fast on tired legs, very similar to how the race will feel. Lastly, this is how I am progressing my quality runs all the way from my first week through the marathon prep. So in the first block, I'm breaking it up into 4-week blocks. I'm doing this 3 by 2 mile, just below threshold pace, and then a progression tempo run that's about 6 to 7 miles long, where it just gets progressively faster over time. And I'm popping them up on the screen here for you. I'll go back and forth between those two each week. So I'll do each one 2 times. And then when I go into the second block, my goal is to teach the body essentially how marathon pace is gonna feel. So I'm gonna spend more time in that marathon pace zone. So that's why I'll do like the 2 by 3 mile at marathon pace, just to spend even more time getting up more toward like the 18 to 20 minute-ish amount of time in that marathon pace zone, and then backing off and then getting back into it again. The main block, so block number 3, this is where my long run is going to become probably the most important quality run of the week. And this is when I start mixing in a lot of marathon pacing into my long run. And this run is usually super demanding and taxing. And that's why I have it in block 3 before I taper again in block 4 and keep some marathon pacing style. But the majority of the bulk of the work will be in block 3, and I'm working my way up to that. And that is everything on quality runs that I know up until this point. And I do want to make it clear that in marathon prep, you can develop this perfect plan for how you want to progress your quality runs over time, and your hydration and your fueling and sleep and recovery, and feel like everything is dialed. And things are still going to go wrong at times, but that's the beauty in it. And that's why I like prepping for these events, just because things are going to go wrong and you're going to mess up. But this is where I think the wisdom comes in, because you learn, you adjust, and then you just don't make the same mistake again. And then you can also help others. And if this is you and you're still struggling with kind of developing your quality runs, or if you're struggling with your strength training around running or nutrition, and you want somebody to work with, you can work with me one-on-one. You can DM me 11 on Instagram, just 11, and I'll send you the information on the one-on-one coaching. Or if you're needing just help with full body strength training for runners, you can DM me strength, and I'll send you some resources I have on that as well. But as always, here to help, and I'm going to take you through the rest of the prep with me and teach you everything that I've learned along the way. So here's to more miles, here's to getting stronger, and I'll see you guys on the next one.